Hello, Seth. I want to play a game. Right now, you're feeling helpless. This is the same helplessness you bestowed onto others. But now, it's onto you. Some call this karma. I call it justice. Now you served 5 years of what should have been a life sentence.
Welcome back to the Haddonfield Horrors podcast, where we review horror movies and horror franchises. I'm Mark,
I'm Tawan.
and today we're reviewing Saw 5, released in 2008, directed by David Hackle, a story by Patrick Melton and Marcus Dunstan. Tuan, can you give the people the plot summary?
Despite the fact the serial killer Jigsaw is dead, his work lives on through a new apprentice, Lieutenant Mark Hoffman, a cop who appeared to be hot on the murderer's trail. As fellow lawman agent Peter Strahm begins to suspect Hoffman is Jigsaw's protege, the fledgling killer sets out to dispose of him.
So, Saw 5. Now, again, this is one of the Saw movies I never watched before, but it's one that I knew of because Megan Good's in it. And I remember when we were gearing up to record episode 2 for Saw 2, I was getting Saw 2 and Saw 5 mixed up because they both have group games. And I love a group game. I feel like part the first one was good. It had two people. It realized it was like three people, but it was just it felt like what's the word? It felt claustrophobic because we only have those main two people. So I love it when the game has like 5 to 6 players. It just makes it better. The dynamics are better. You don't know who to trust, who's going to be crazier. But this was kind of a letdown. Like with Saw 2, you had that one crazy character who kind of fucked the whole game up. But it was like a slow build to that. Like you saw that he was crazy, but it wasn't just like off jump. They were all like selfish and crazy. Like from the moment we saw their game started, they were all out for themselves, and it didn't make the game enjoyable. Not to mention all the fucking flashbacks. This was basically a fucking retrospective movie with a couple fucking new scenes spliced in between, and it was a lot. But what are your thoughts on this movie?
Um, I feel like I remembered liking this one before, like, rewatching it, and I won't say, like, I hated
I feel
it
like
or
you said that
anything.
about most of the ones we've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen like all these movies like watch them like in a long time. Like probably an amount of time that they've like came out has been since I've like actually sat down and watched them. Besides like kill count and all that kind of stuff. But I think when I came back to this one, I did like the game itself because it was so obvious that they were kind of supposed to work together. I feel like once they got to the second room, somebody should have noticed, but they were just so like in for themselves with it. Which I mean, I understand, if especially after that first room, like nobody's gonna check the keys and stuff like in the first room to like see like, oh wait, let's see if this key works for your thing. Like you get 60 seconds or your head's getting chopped off. So like I don't think anyone would be trying to like figure out who like team plays and shit like that point. Like they're just trying to get their key and like keep it moving. So that's that. But outside of the game, it really it is a lot going on like outside of the game, and the way they kind of like string certain things along. Um, there's like certain things that that came up in Saw 4 that we don't get payoff to until this movie. But it's not like that kind of payoff where it's like, oh, like this turned into this. It's like we know Jill is gonna get files. Like Jill got like a box of files in Saw 4, but we're not going to see them until Saw 5. So they're like arbitrarily like pushing it further along for stuff that they could have revealed already at this point. And it's a lot of that like back and forth type that you kind of mentioned as well with like the flashbacks and everything. But that's kind of like at this point like in nature for Saw. Like I'm not even I don't even care at this point about like the flashbacks and all that and where we are as far as that kind of goes. I feel like it's just to be expected at this point with the Saw movies, but I don't like how the game has so little impact on everything else in this one. Like the game is really they really put it's like, watching an anime and you got your filler anime, like your filler episodes. It's like they have the main episode and the filler going on at the same time. Like the game is the filler and they have everything else surrounding like Hoffman, Strom, and the rest of them going on at the same as well.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I meant that this is the first time the game doesn't have a direct impact on the overall plot of the movie. Like it's like here's the main movie plot, and oh, this is a Saw movie, so here's a Jigsaw game. Like
Yeah.
it just felt like what you said. It just felt they were definitely separated,
Yeah, because
which ruins it.
even with like Saw 4, like I didn't care for like Rig and that whole game and everything, but that did go into the story because of it was going in tandem with what was happening in Saw 3. It was all happening at the same time, so like and also involved like Eric Matthews, and then Hoffman was like a part of that and all that type of thing. So it made sense why that like was played like that, and the rest of those, like I would say 1 to 4, like all those games like are connected to each other. But like as far as the rest of these, not the rest of these, but as far as this game at least, they were kind of like disjointed, and I feel like they just like Jigsaw before he died, he just picked like these people who were connected in this way because of this building and all this stuff that they like had all something to do with or a part of, and now they're in a trap and running through the game. But no one else outside of it, like it's not really brought up outside of the like game itself. So that was definitely like weird throughout the movie for me, and it definitely made it feel disjointed. I will say like the traps themselves that they kind of had were pretty decent, but at least for as far as the whole thing, it's like the whole like overall, it was definitely a little like underwhelming in that aspect.
Yeah, I feel like I just the game not being directly connected to their whole overarching plot definitely takes it away because honestly, the traps of the game weren't even that like inventive or creative. Like I feel like the traps we saw in past movies were definitely better. Um and like I when it got back to the game, I kind of just like that was my bathroom break. That was oh I need some chips or oh let me scroll through Twitter really quick because I wasn't interested in the game or the player. What I was interested in was in strong like piecing everything together and the flashbacks to um how
Hoffman and Jigsaw.
Hoffman and John Kramer met and seeing that like literally Hoffman walked out of the room right as Amanda was willing the wife in part three. So I loved seeing little things like that, but the game itself it was boring. Like
And I
I
feel like they
didn't
did.
really go ahead.
No, so I feel like the probably the people behind the movie, they probably were the same. They probably felt more into that story, but they knew what people were coming to Saw for, and were like, "Oh wait, we need traps. We need the gore. Where is the gore?"
Definitely, definitely is like this is a Saw movie, so we have to do this. So we had to have these traps, but it's like if you didn't want to be here, you like this could it could have just been I don't know. Like when we get to the end and we finally see something being played out, I'll wait. But I want to talk about some standout scenes. For me, I think because yeah, the standout scene for me is definitely when we finally get confirmation that the daughter survives. because they leave that very like up in the air at the end of three. They don't really address it in four. So seeing that she's alive was like, okay, cool. Okay, we can take a deep breath. John didn't kill this girl. Amanda probably would have. Amanda crazy as fuck. But
Yeah, she probably would have.
another standout scene for me. I love seeing Strom like going through like all the old locations and kind of just like getting the flashbacks and like, oh, we were all supposed to die. Oh, this was supposed to happen. So I love those. I love the investigation scenes, and I also I like the scene where they're in Perez's hospital room, but like, where the fuck was she? Was she in surgery? Did she just get swift away to protective custody? Like, what the fuck happened? What about you? Any scenes that stood out for you?
One scene that I like just because, oh, once you get to the end, not the end, but the end of the game at least, was when the two last players discovered they're like, oh wait, we were all supposed to get through that, and like watching it now, like back on some of them, you could definitely see that. Like pretty sure back then when I was like younger, I probably didn't even notice that, and I thought it was probably crazy. I thought it was like whoa, like type of moment. But watching it now, especially once they got to the second room where they had to like go into those tunnels and stuff, I'm like, those are so clearly like fit for multiple people that can go in there. And but once they get to the last one where they have to saw their arms and stuff and get a blood, that was um that was a good one because they both realized that they kind of fucked up in that moment. Um, trying to think, and I would probably say another scene was just the ending with Strom and Hoffman because it's kind it's kind of one of those like Jigsaw, like it's kind of just one of those Saw like Jigsaw things where someone didn't either listen to their whole tape or they weren't following the instructions, and because they didn't follow the instructions, what Jigsaw said will happen did happen. Which I mean, yes, Strom died because he didn't get in the box, but like who's gonna trust Jigsaw at this point? It's one of those things. It's like how like even if I was in there and I listened to that whole tape and he was like you'll stay alive if you get in the box. I'm like the box that's gonna like what is gonna happen once I'm in this box? Like I don't know. So it's kind of one of those moments. But once you get there, he puts Hoffman in there and it descends into the ground and the room starts closing in. That was like a crazy scene. I wasn't expecting Strom to go out like that.
Well, let's talk about the traps because that was a crazy ass trap. I was not expecting the room to start fucking
Right.
closing in on him, and he got squished. Because
Yeah.
when he was like, when John Kramer, whoever voice that was, being Jigsaw, was like, "You're never going to leave this room. We're never going to find you." I was thinking they were just going to trap him in there. And he was going to starve to death. I didn't think he was going to be like squished and just like, and then see like his blood drop on like the glass thing that
Yeah,
Hoffman
the
was in. It
Hoffman
was
was
like,
in. Crazy.
and then another trap that stood out. The opening trap. That was a good trap because he crushed his fingers and the blood came out, and but the blade kept swishing. I mean, just that was brutal. But those are the only two traps that sit out: the opening trap, the ending trap. Again, all the traps in the game itself, I wasn't really impressed. But what about you?
Yeah, I will say like they weren't all that impressive. Now I will mention Strom's trap if I recall. Did we was Strom's trap in this one? Yeah, it was. Yeah, his trap where he had to do the
Yeah,
tracheotomy on himself.
that was good. I would have died.
Yeah, I definitely would have died there. I couldn't. One, I probably want to think to do that, and then two, once I like, I would have maybe gotten the courage to do it, I probably would have drowned by then. Because he
Shit,
didn't
I
even
would
have
never
a
done it.
way.
I would just would have drowned because
He didn't even have a
fuck
way
that.
out of it anyway. Like it was definitely just one of those like ones that were meant for him to die. Well, we know with fucking Hoffman being on the scene now that he's the type for that.
Him and crazy ass Amanda. You got anything else?
That's kind of it. Like the first, like the actual traps, like in the game, they weren't like that interesting. Like they really didn't
They were very
have much.
basic.
Yeah, they were very basic. Um, yeah, they didn't really have much to do. They just had to get a key for the first one. Didn't they? And the second one, I kind of forgot exactly what they had to do, but I know they had to end up in those tunnels. I think they had to get keys again to get open the tunnels, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they had to get keys again. Now the third one was the electricity one. I don't understand how that one would work with all of them. I know that I've seen that they will all share the current, but I'm like, I don't know how that's gonna. I don't know how that would specifically work. But that was it. And then the last one was just collecting the blood. So yeah, they didn't really have like much to do besides the fact that they were just all supposed to work together to get to that goal at the end. But I mean, props to that girl and the guy at the end
Yeah, they
because
made it.
they definitely did it. They're
But
fucking
you know
like their arms were like cut all the way up to like their fucking shoulders, damn near.
what makes me mad about this series is like I feel like Friday the 13th. No, I can't say that because that continuity of Friday the 13th is all over the fucking place. But I think with it being different directors for pretty much all the movies, like okay, you had James Wan that first movie, so everything felt tight, in control, and very like going to a singular direction. We had one director who directed two, three, and four, and it all felt the same. Five has a different director, and this is the only movie that he directed in this franchise. And it just feel you can tell it's different. It looks different. It feels different. And
Yeah,
I think this director didn't click with what was supposed to be going on, which is probably why he didn't come back ever again. So I don't I don't know. Like the stories there, I guess. I mean, the people who wrote five also wrote four, and I know they're gonna write another coming back for six and seven as well. So the story's there, but like the look and the feel isn't there, and I think it's on the director. It doesn't give me the soft feel. I don't know.
yeah. I definitely know what you mean. This one definitely feels a bit different, and I feel after this with six, I feel like six is pretty good, like stylistic wise, but seven and or like Saw 3D, that one looks terrible, and that's from the same director that did six, which confused
And
me.
he's also the same director who's doing 10.
But I would say just from the trailers, 10 looks way better than seven.
Well, he's had a couple. He's had over 10 years to get his shit together. So
He
hopefully,
better have.
hopefully. So let's move on to the characters. Now we kind of talked about them, but we're going to start with the game players. We decided to put them all just under one blanket because, as we said, the game itself didn't really have an impact on the main story. The game was pretty much isolated, and all the players were connected on in one singular event. They all did something that caused someone to die in a house fire or whatever. So, what do you think about the game players and their reasons for like being part of the game?
I mean, I don't think their reasoning for being part in the game was that bad, to be honest. The only person out of them where I would say maybe didn't deserve to be there was the guy who was the newspaper writer, just because he was sitting on the story. But I mean, the rest of them all had like actual involvement in it, especially the two that were left at the end, Malik and Britt, because she paid a drug dealer, I mean, to get someone to burn down the building, and the guy Malik actually burned down the building. And Megan Good's character, she gave a permit for she knew about it basically and was kind of in on it. And the other girl, she didn't do her job as being like a fire. I don't think she was a fire marshal. She was like something in like the fire department, but she didn't give like the correct like procedures or something and caused like more people to die. So like I would say all the four of them, I think they deserved it. I don't think the other guy deserved it just because he was sitting on the story about it. Like he was waiting. If I think he was just waiting for the right time to release it, which I mean, shit like that happens all the time with journalists. Like they take a while to collect all the information before they release a story. So, I mean, I don't think that's
And
deserving of the job.
sometimes they can't release a story because their bosses or the editor is like, "No, you can't publish this."
Exactly. So I'm like, you can't. So like, how are you? Like, that's not nothing for. That's not Jigsaw worthy. But we know at this point, Jigsaw is just gonna do what he wants to do. Um, but outside of that, yeah, they were like hate I always hate saying this, but they were really just they were like just cannon fodder background characters. Like they really had no impact on the rest of this movie. Like we said, like they were really
Saw
like
needs a
filler.
body count, so that's what they were there for.
Yeah, like we really could have taken their whole plot out and the story would not have changed at all. It just probably would have changed where certain people were at certain times, like Hoffman being at the warehouse to like start it all, but and like leaving Strom's phone at the warehouse for the main detective Erickson to find it. But besides that, like they still could have probably did something else to get each person at whatever location without including this game in there.
Let's talk about Jill. Now, Jill has kind of just like been around these last couple movies, but like hasn't really been really a part of the plot. And her coming up and being like, "Oh yeah, Strom's following me," I was just like, that came out of nowhere for me. So I don't know. What about you? What are your thoughts on Jill?
Um, so I will say it probably came out of nowhere, but I think she did that to kind of um get that's what I'm looking for. She kind of did that to plant that seed a little more that it could possibly be like Strom. Because why else would like someone go after like Jigsaw's wife at this point? Especially because like Hoffman's planting all those seeds towards Detective Erickson and all the other people in the police department that it could possibly be Strom as someone who's like the new apprentice of Jigsaw and doing all this stuff. So I mean, I kind of get it, but yeah, they don't use Jill. They don't use Jill much in this one. She gets like a lot more going on in six and seven, if I recall correctly, especially
She
seven.
does. Yeah, I know
But
she has a big part in Seven. She plays.
yeah, but yeah, in this one we still kind of get like just like little stuff of her. You know, she was getting those files and stuff and gave them off to Hoffman. But besides that, she didn't have much impact for now.
Yep. Yeah. It's another case of one of those things where they just like plop a character in for a little bit and then expand on them two movies down the line. It just makes like I'm glad we're watching these so close together, but like having to come back to the theater year after year after year and home video was still like, yeah, I had to go rent this DVD or rent this VHS, and there wasn't streaming back then, so like you would forget some of these details. Like, yeah, they have flashbacks, but like, fuck, okay. But let's talk about Agent Strom. Look, I was when I was doing research a little bit, I thought people were just like, he should have just stopped. He was like that other cop. He should have just stopped. I was like, no, this man almost died, and he wouldn't have survived if he wasn't quick thinking. So the fact that someone else survived and walked out unharmed, really, he was justifiably suspicious. And I feel like all the other cops and that FBI agent with that fucking
Right?
Bluetooth thing in his ear should have been listening to him. Like, come on. I barely survived, and I have a fucking hole in my throat. But this guy has a couple arm scratches, and he was able to save this random ass kid. Like, come on now. Like, he was completely justified, and he was smart as shit too. He was putting everything. He was putting everything together. Like I'm justice for Strom. What are your thoughts on him?
No, yeah, actually, yeah, I do like Strom. I will say, like, they gave him like they kind of gave him like Batman powers. Like this motherfucker was acting like he had like detective mode out of the Arkham Asylum game when he was in locations. Because like he would just, it's like he would just know. Like when he went to the location where the Seth Baxter game took place, like the first trap in the movie, and he was like, "You watched him." Like I'm like, bro, how would you know that? Like, come on, like, like that. It's really it's like I know you're not like that precognitive to know what the fuck happened, but um his character worked as like to be a good like cat and mouse for Hoffman, and I don't know, like I feel like they should have kept him around for another movie or so, because once we get to like the next movie and the one after that, like Hoffman becomes so unhinged and like really doesn't have anybody to stop him, kind of. And Strom was kind of like a good like antithesis to that, and if he was able to stay around, um, it would have. I feel like that could have been really like really cool for like the character of Hoffman to have someone like going at him in that sense. But um like Strom was there to play though. Like he was putting the information together, he was putting the pieces together. It was just Hoffman was getting the heads up over the other people and planting those seeds, and like plus that seed that from Jill that Strom was following her and stuff like that. So it definitely didn't pan out for him as good because of all the seeds planted by other people. But he was the only one like given like actual good information about who it actually who well one who we know it is, but to them like who they think it is, which is Hoffman.
And speaking of Hoffman, I see that this game was given to him, so like yeah, okay, cool, that's whatever. But like seeing that he was the one tasked to tying up all the loose ends, but I'm like, these weren't even his games. Like, why is he the one going around like shutting everything up? Like, I just felt like something was, I don't know, something was missing for me with Hoffman. It just felt like I don't know. I didn't like him as a Jigsaw apprentice. But what about you?
Yeah, his this game definitely was given to him. Like, because if I recall, didn't Jill give him like those files to basically tell him who like what this game was going to
Yep.
be about? So yeah, he really didn't even have to do anything for this one. It was definitely given to him for this, and I mean that kind of this kind of goes into the next one as well. But I think one of my things with Hoffman that I feel not would have saved him in any type of way from any scrutiny, but why in the first place did Hoffman have to kill Seth Baxter and make it look like a jigsaw killing? If he was able to kidnap Seth and set him up in a trap, why didn't he just like actually just kill him? Now I get like making it look like a jigsaw killing would be a good way to like go about it, but now that he's wrapped up in this whole thing, it just implicates him a little bit more than somebody else would. Like, okay, if like the guy who killed his sister came up just dead, like a homicide or something, I'm sure nobody would think Hoffman. But the fact that he died in a jigsaw trap, and now like Hoffman is really close and was also in a jigsaw trap, like I don't know, it looks more like suspicious that way, at least to me. But if he was able to do all of that to
Oh,
get the guy,
it's definitely suspicious. Like when he said, "Oh, this guy killed my sister," that should have been a red fucking flag right there. Like, there's no way. And
and he
he
should have been
had
taken off the
no,
case,
and also he had no real reaction. If you're a
right?
cop and you walk into a crime scene and the person who murdered your sister is in front of you dead, you're gonna have some type of reaction. It might be inappropriate happiness or sad. You might be overwhelmed with sadness. Like, what the fuck? Like, this isn't just justice I wanted, but this is the justice I got. Like, he had no reaction to this. He didn't even seem phased. Why weren't these flags like waved?
That's yeah, that's so true. Like he should have been taken off the case, honestly, at that point, because even like even that's like not like this. Well, no, it's personal involvement. Yes, the guy's dead, but he still should be taken off the case because either way, like the personal involvement has like a lot to do with that. But it looks suspicious, and also, but it also just like go that why even go that route when I don't know if you like I said, if he had all that ability to capture him, kidnap him, set him up, bro. Why just not kill him and like hide the body or some shit?
Right? It's too much. It was too. It. I just feel like Strom was being. He was making valid points and no one listened to him. Hoffman was definitely suspicious. That guy was suspicious. And you telling me he wasn't. I feel like Strom's behavior after what happened to him was normal. He wanted to figure out what the fuck was going on. The fact that Hoffman survived and just felt completely removed again was another fucking red flag. Because if I'm in a fucking trap and I think there's a chance that anybody else is out there, I'm gonna be investigating it. You're a cop, but I don't know. But let's talk about Jigsaw, aka John Kramer. We only really got him in a couple flashbacks, but did they? I might have missed it, but did they explain how he knew Hoffman was the one pretending to be him?
I'm gonna be honest. I really don't think it was like explained. Like I know that like he he caught him and everything, but I don't really think that it was explained how he actually knew that Hoffman did it. Because I mean, technically, if Jigsaw didn't do it, anybody could have done it. But specifically knowing it was this detective whose sister was killed by this guy, I don't see how he could put that two together.
Well, what are your thoughts on John Kramer overall? Well, his reasoning or whatever.
Overall, like Kramer is such like a flawed ass character, and I don't feel like these movies like try to like get us like on his side or anything. They just try to give us you know what his character's like thought process is for a lot of this stuff, and also like picking these apprentices and everything to like carry it out once he's done, because he feels like he's doing like some sort of like justice almost like in that kind of like in a Judge Dredd type of sense, like he's like judge jury executor, and but you can redeem yourself, and like he's feeling like he's giving these people a second chance, but at a certain point it's like what are you, which I feel like we've gotten in this conversation for like every episode, but it's hard not to with like he tries to be like he's in the moral right, even though he's dead now. Like we still have to deal with him because of the flashbacks, so he still tries to feel like he's in that moral like right area of it all. When one we know he's not, but also the people who are on the other end of these traps are not, and aside from that, now you have like other people brought into it because of what you started, i.e., Hoffman and then Amanda, and especially Hoffman. Now that we know that he's been with him basically the whole time since the first movie, um, like this guy is just gonna get like really unhinged at a certain point, and I feel like if Kramer didn't die, I feel like Hoffman probably would have eventually killed him.
I feel like with Kramer, he gets these apprentices, but then he puts them in a situation where like when their game is concluded, his game is still going on, and then they still die in his game for them, which I don't really get. It's like why do you pick these people just so you can kill them? Like what's going on? And then the overall like logic, oh, he doesn't really kill people. Like, yes, he does. If you tie someone up and you put them in a situation that causes their death, you are indirectly responsible for their murder. You are still a fucking murderer.
Exactly.
Like, that would not hold up in a court of law. You are still going to jail.
You're going to
Like, what the
prison.
fuck? Like, you're still going to jail, people. Like, I don't understand. Like, I Mm, but whatever. But that's the last character we have was Mr. Jigsaw himself. But Tuan, can you give the people the behind the scenes info and facts?
That I can. So, the budget of this movie, Saw 5, was 10.8 million and it brought in the box office of 113.9 million. Some interesting facts. Scott Patterson was apprehensive about sticking his head in a sealed box that would fill with water. The trap was tested beforehand and didn't go well. Danny Glover was offered a chance to reprise his role in a flashback. He had to decline because of shooting conflicts with the film blindness. The original screenplay called for characters played by Megan Good and Julie Benz to go through most of their ordeal wearing just their undergarments. The production team decided against this when they realized how committed and serious the two actresses were about their role. Some critics' reactions. The film currently sits at a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes. CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of a C on an A plus to F scale. New York Daily News gave Saw 5 a 1 out of 5 stars, believing that the lack of Tobin Bell's Jigsaw character hurt the film. Bell's deliciously twisted madman was the lifeline of the series, and without him, we're left with watching a routine horror flick that might as well have gone straight to DVD. Digital Spy rated it 3 out of 5 stars. It commended the film for its solid acting, slick direction, and suitably filthy cinematography, too. The Los Angeles Times wrote that the virtues of the individual films are almost besides the point, since it's hard to imagine why anyone would want to pick up the thread at this late. But Saw 5 is particularly dull and discombobulated affair, shot and acted with all the flair of a basic cable procedural. Yikes.
Right? They went in on this movie, but what do we think? Tuan, do we cash or pass Saw 5? For me, it's a pass. Like I said, the game itself wasn't enjoyable. Yeah, it was fun watching Strom like do the detective work and seeing Hoffman trying to cover his tracks. But from the very beginning, Saw has always been you have the cop story, you have the Jigsaw game, but at some point they all intertwine or interconnect. This felt like two separate plots going on simultaneously that never meet. There was no meeting in the middle or meeting the climax. It was just two separate stories. And to top it all off, the game was kind of boring and the game players weren't interesting. So it was only half enjoyable, which means it's entirely passable. What about you, Tuan?
I I'm a bit like in the middle with this one, but I'm leaning more towards a pass because while we do get a lot of backing information for where we're going to go forward as far as like Hoffman being like the new like main apprentice, we Jigsaw is like dead, Amanda's dead. He's going to be like our guy going forward, going through and doing like all the Jigsaw traps and things like that. But the whole game itself that was in here, like we mentioned, was disconnected. Like you could have taken that out, and the movie would have been squished down to just the bits that we have with like Hoffman, Strom, and all those characters. But if you like minus a lot of that, it's like flashback and stuff, and just keep in what's happening in the present. It's not really a lot going on here, and it could have probably been attached to like Saw 6 or something. Like a lot of this could have probably been combined for the next movie and it probably wouldn't have made much of a difference as to what was happening because we really only had the trap sequence, not trap, but like the game trap sequences or whatever as like filler content while other stuff was going on in the background. And I think I'm leaning more towards a pass for this one.
Well, and even though she wasn't here for this episode, Maria and I did talk about it, and she pretty much also said that this would also be a pass. So I think this is the first time we've all three passed on a Saw movie, and justifiably so. Like the game wasn't strong, like you said. Outside of a couple things, there wasn't much really going on. I mean, it didn't really get interesting until we got the end scene with Strawn and Hoffman, but that's at the end of the movie. So Yeah, 3 passes. But hopefully Saw 6 gives us a little bit more. Again, this is another one I have never seen. Um, I don't know what to expect from it. Like going into this, leaving 5, I don't know what to expect from 6. It's the exact same writers, but it's a different director. So I don't know. Any you want to give me any hint, Tuan? Do you,
I so I now I don't remember if I liked the whole movie of Saw 6, but I do remember liking the game in Saw 6 because of like what it was kind of like dealing with, and it actually did have something to do with Kramer this time around. It is like a game of something that happened, not happened in the past, but someone who did something to Kramer in the past, and now like he's going through like a trial, and like as far as the game goes. So I do remember liking this one as far as like the actual like whole game was happening, but as far as the background stuff with like the police and like Hoffman and all that, I don't really remember much from that part of things.
well, I guess we'll see. Hope you guys enjoy this episode. Join us next week. Good night.